Good morning, Asia, and good morning, the PIFA world. All in the room and all those connected virtually online to this plenary session, the inaugural session of the PIFA week and the PIFA flagship training. Vice President HKU, Sardar, Eric, Benoy, and all of you, I can't express how thrilled I am today, along with the PIFA team, to be here for this big PIFA week. This is one of the biggest in the recent years, and thank you so much to Asian Development Bank, to Aman, Maria, Navedu, Julieta, Anjum, and the entire ADB team who have been working for 5 to 6 months on a weekly basis to review the progress and get us to what we are starting today, the PIFA flagship training. So in this session, what I'm going to do is to take you through few slides, the big picture about the PIFA initiative, so which will seamlessly take us into the PIFA flagship training, which will be in 2 separate rooms after this plenary session. So let me start off with a question. There is a country. This country, a hypothetical country. You can give it any name. It can be Wakanda, it can be Mahishmati, it can be whatever you want to call it, right? This country scored a C on PIFA framework. It did not get a PIFA check. It means countries' PFM systems are poor when compared to international best practices, and the country quickly needs to A grade. Is that true or false? True? How many for true? Anyone for true? Anyone for false? False, false, false. I can see a lot of false, right? So that's the theme of the initial presentation. It's false. It's false to say that C is not comparable to international best practices. First, because PIFA doesn't measure against international best practices. It is international good practices. Second, PIFA C is basic level of compliance with international good practices, which practically means PIFA C doesn't mean it's bad. It just simply means there is more scope for improvement. 3, a low score on PIFA doesn't automatically mean on each aspect of PFM that you need to improve upon. And last and most important, does a country get a PIFA score? No. Countries do not have a PIFA score. Only indicators and dimensions have a PIFA score, and the framework is not structured to measure at a country level. It is to measure at an individual PFM aspect level. With that, let me run through few slides with you. PIFA, as you all know, Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability. Way back in 2001, Eric mentioned this incident where every partner, every government started looking at, can we have a common measurement tool? And that's what we have today in the form of PIFA, with all the 9 PIFA partners supporting it. It's a standard methodology for assessing public financial management system. So now let's look at how does this work in actual practice? So the key points to note here are, it is an evidence-based analysis. What does that mean? This section of the room conducts an assessment. Later, this section of the room goes and conducts the same assessment. The results should be the same. It's not the subjectivity and analysis of individual author of the report, but what is important is the evidence leading to a common report. And it deals with the 3 budgetary outcomes. What are 3 budgetary outcomes? Aggregate fiscal discipline. What does that simply mean? Government should not spend more than what they have. They should collect well and spend well. Strategic allocation. Simply allot as per the requirements in a strategic way. And efficient service delivery. The goal of PFM being improved service delivery, 3 budgetary outcomes. And PEFA is something which is not assessing government policies. It is doing 2 things. One, it is assessing the ability of PFM systems in implementing government policies through the PFM systems. And 2, it informs the policies, better policy making through good information decisions from the PEFA assessment as such. So that's the PEFA framework. As you know, like right now, it's present in 156 countries at national and subnational levels. Then we have the framework. When we say framework, this is framework. What you see on screen is framework. The framework, the national framework, subnational PEFA, and agile PEFA. All these 3 are one. Subnational is not a separate framework. It is a modification of national framework for subnational requirements, because subnational have some specificities. And agile is for small island nations and agencies, the countries which they want to conduct quick repeat assessments for small countries. Then you have supplementary frameworks, climate and gender. As PFM evolved, there is greater demand on responsiveness of PFM systems from gender perspective, from climate perspective. Are PFM systems responsive to climate and gender? And that's where you have these frameworks. Now, this book, the national framework and the subnational, climate, gender, each of them we are going to complete by day after tomorrow, 12 noon. That's our goal. Complete the whole boutique. You may find this book to be, okay, very big. Wait for it. The other books are bigger. They are also going to come into your bags tomorrow morning, and all this will finish. So it will be a super technical, heavy technical training. We'll do our best to make it interesting and interactive to get us to the core points. Now, some big numbers. 3 budgetary outcomes, the highest level outcomes, that is about the fiscal discipline, allocation, efficiency, and service delivery. But PFM is not measured at that level. PFM is always measured from below, bottom up. What is the lowest? It's the dimension. This book has 94 dimensions. These are the points at which PFM is actually measured. Each of the dimension gets accumulated or aggregated into what we call as indicators. So PEFA indicators are 31, and you get scores, measurement scores at these 31 indicators and the 94 dimensions. So what you don't get is a score at a pillar level or at an outcome level. You don't have such scores, or at a country level. So PEFA is not structured for that, but it is structured at dimension level. Now, these are the 7 pillars. We'll go through all these pillars. You can see PFM in 2 ways. You can say budget. PFM is what? It's about budget, right? Budget preparation, budget execution, budget evaluation. This can be a way of looking at. Another way of looking at is through these pillars, the 7 pillars of PEFA. Principally, PEFA is structured in a way to say budget reliability is the overall goal. Having a good budget, which is reliable budget, is the overall goal. That's what this chart depicts. It is one way of looking at PFM. It need not be the only way. It is, you can say, the PEFA way of looking at that the overall goal is budget reliability, and other pillars are contributing to this budget reliability. At the same time, if you score well on budget reliability, doesn't necessarily automatically mean all other pillars are doing well. So in substance, PEFA promotes the principle that each of the pillars are important, each of the dimensions are important, and country ownership and prioritization should determine progress on various indicators. Scoring. Why did I say there is C is not bad? C is not bad because it means it is basic level compliance with international good practices. Keyword here, it is international good practices. not best practices. An A does not mean this is the ultimate in PFM and you can't do better. Yes, it's like in a progress report in the school. 100 out of 100 is the max score you can get, but still the student can do even better. Taking the analogy, A essentially means it is high level of compliance, but there's nothing called best practices. PEFA doesn't necessarily believe in best practices because of subjectivity which gets involved in the country specificity. So some will ask me saying like, will PEFA be suitable for my country? It has specific unique requirements, specific constitution. Yes, PEFA is framed in a way which is suitable to every country. So if there is something which is unique, which is not applicable across the board to countries, probably that's not part of PEFA already. So it contains things which are consistent across all countries. So we'll go into the indicators and dimensions, and there's something called a PEFA check, a quality check credential. It's an optional credential which checks not how good the PFM system in a country is. It checks how good the report is consistent with the PEFA framework. So this is a kind of an optional certification or quality credential issued where 85% plus compliance with the framework is received, and that's something which is issued by the PEFA Secretariat. We'll talk more about it in the sessions to come. We have then the PEFA gender, which has specific indicators, and the PEFA climate, which we would be covering with specific indicators tomorrow. And with that, let me come to quickly the current status of PEFA, PFM. Few highlights. If you look at 156 countries, if you look at like all the 800 plus reports, what does the picture say? The picture is overall positive. If we see 25 years of progress, PFM systems have improved. Efforts of governments have yielded results. That's what is documented in what we call PFM tracker, which is available in the PEFA website right now. Let me highlight a few things. Budget reliability or credibility. Are budgets credible? The answer is on an aggregate level, total budget level, government seems to be doing well on budget credibility. But the problem comes on composition. Is it distributed well across ministries? Overall, governments comply with the total goals of what they planned and what they executed. But do they comply with at ministry level? Do they comply with at expenditure, economic expenditure type level? Like, are salaries the same? Is debt the same? Is travel expenditure the same? Planned and actual. That's where one area where many countries seems to have serious problems still. At an aggregate level, yes, but at composition level, not so great, is what one of the pictures which comes up. Fiscal transparency, this has improved over time. Budget documentation has been very robust. If you see the PEFA, what's a good budget document is something which in the reports, you will see that countries are doing very well. But then the problem is there is fiscal data, but it's not fully transparently available to public. Right? So that's one area in the global tracker we notice gaps. So there is data, but within the government, it's not necessarily always available to public. Assets and liabilities, government balance sheets. Assets and liabilities are important for government balance sheets. How are governments doing generally? This is one of the weak areas. Public investment management still struggles in many countries. Long-term capital costs, for example, life cycle costs are not considered in the decision-making on capital investments still in many countries. But there is good news. Debt management processes have improved significantly and substantially in the last 10 years. So does good debt management process mean low risk of debt sustainability? Not necessarily. Debt management process means the ability of government to manage debt, but the decision making of government is government's. So you can have a good process and still engage more debt, right? So the debt problem still exists, but the debt management processes are something which significantly improved. The pillar number 4 on budget planning and medium term perspective. So there's one of the fundamental problems across PFM systems one sees. There are a lot of things on paper they improved. There are medium term expenditure frameworks. There are kind of a documented processes which are good practices. But the problem is there are national plans, there are sector plans, there are medium term expenditure frameworks, and then the budgets. Many cases, they don't talk to each other. This is something coming through the data. Is there improvement? There is significant improvement. A lot of process improvements, but still there are areas which seems to be struggling. Budget execution means both revenue and expenditure. How are countries doing on budget execution? This is where the more detailed issues come up. There are issues like commitment controls being a problem in many countries, or expenditure arrears accumulating as a challenge, like unpaid bills, revenues not collected in time. Public procurement through non-competitive methods is still taking place. These issues come up still in many countries, which meant these need to be like overall, while there is progress, there are fundamental issues going around on budget execution. Accounting and reporting, generally stronger progress has taken place, although the timing of reports, if you see, they don't go to audit still on time in many countries. Audit is doing well, the audit cycle part of it, supreme audit institutions have improved a lot, but the legislature taking decisions and actions is still a kind of a weakness. These are the things that we are going to, some of the highlights of what's coming up from the tracker. We go into greater details during the program. With that, let me conclude by this session by thanking once more and quickly making an introduction of who we are. The PEFA team here today in the room to deliver the PEFA steering committee. Let me call upon to wave Victor. Victor is like 30 plus years expert in public financial management, and he is here with us. Thanks, Victor. Mona, our expert also very specifically into accounting and auditing space. Dimitri, with vast experience on PFM accounting and the related space. We have John Mark. I should specifically say, John Mark is 21st year with PEFA. He's working for 21 years on PEFA, if I'm not wrong, right? Yeah. And Nine, who helped us put all this together. Nine, back there. With that, thank you, everyone. We have, I think, 2-3 minutes for a quick question if anyone wants to make a comment question or if there is an online question. Anyone in the room? Else, thank you so much. We are super delighted once more. Thank you, everyone, and looking forward to a great PEFA flagship training. Thank you.